Okay, good afternoon, everybody. As Hayden mentioned, my name is Sonia Hall. I'm the Director of ND Learning's Office of Digital Learning. For those of you not familiar with the office, it's the university's core provider of online and digital learning initiatives. In this presentation, I'm going to talk about a pilot project we launched in collaboration with the Lucy Family Institute for Data and Society and the AI Enablement team. I'm glad Brandon is here for all the techie parts of this presentation. To talk about how we leverage a partnership with the National Education Opportunity Network to expand access to human-centered AI education. If you want to follow along with the slides, you can just scan this QR code right here. So in the next 12-ish minutes, I'm going to talk a little bit about the National Education Opportunity Network, which I'll refer to as NEON, because National Education Opportunity Network is a very long thing to say. And talk a little bit about how we leverage that structure and that system to offer CSE 10151 Responsible and Ethical AI, a 3-credit course delivered here by Notre Dame, to students in low socioeconomic high schools around the country, like this one here, King's College Prep High School in Illinois. I'll talk a little bit about our pilot outcomes and then talk a little bit about our next steps before leaving some time, hopefully, for questions. Okay, so the National Education Opportunity Network is a nonprofit organization that partners with elite higher education institutions like the ones listed here to offer credit-bearing college courses to students in low socioeconomic high schools around the country. To date, they've served over 50,000 students in over 500 high schools across 34 states, and they continue to grow. And how the model works, it could be best understood as a hybrid model that brings together asynchronous, so fully online with no interaction, synchronous, and then live instruction. The university professor can be thought of as the architect of the entire learning experience. They're also the face behind the asynchronous content, which include lecture videos, readings, assessments, lesson plans, and everything in between. The professor is supported by a team of teaching fellows, which are typically undergraduate or graduate students at the university, who are responsible for meeting weekly with students at 1 to 2 high schools to deliver a deeper dive into the content that they've engaged with asynchronously. They're also responsible for the grading and then also play a very important role of serving as near-peer mentors to the scholars in the high schools. Another really important part of this model, given that it is very human-centered, to kind of build on Casey's terminology, is that the high school teacher themselves who are physically in the classrooms with their students, usually facilitating the students' engagement with the asynchronous content, and then building on that with building from lesson plans provided by the university professor to go deeper into the content. They work very closely with their assigned teaching fellow to offer that holistic learning experience. And then these 3 components are supported by the NEON team, who offer the kind of logistical support around the entire learning experience, from student success to recruitment and everything in between. When Notre Dame joined the NEON Consortium in 2025, here's a list of the courses that were available. There are over 42 courses listed here. I don't expect you to be able to read these, but they range from English to data science to education of Black girls. Notably, this is around the same time when there was increasing pressure coming from above the state and the federal level to increase AI education across the learning spectrum. So we saw, when we joined the consortium, we saw an opportunity not only to increase access to elite higher education through this model, but to increase access to effective AI and human-centered AI education. So in fall 2025, we offered Responsible and Ethical AI. We partnered with the Lucy Family Institute for Data and Society, specifically with Professor Valia Koskova, to design this course, which provides a comprehensive exploration of the intersection between artificial intelligence and ethical responsibility. Professor Koskova was supported by a team of iTrends teaching fellows. Many of you might be familiar with this program offered by the Lucy Family Institute for Data and Society, and some of you may be here today, who served as those near-peer mentors and facilitated those live weekly sessions with the students. Additionally, Professor Koskova was supported by 2 lead teaching fellows, Mary Oshiro, Annie Conahan, and then also with support from members of the Office of Digital Learning team. A little bit about the course design. So as I mentioned, the model combines asynchronous, synchronous, and in-person forms of instruction. The asynchronous layer is really where the students are engaging with the faculty member at the university. So and it's also where they get the first exposure to the content that they're covering. So for Responsible and Ethical AI, there were lecture videos, readings, and knowledge checks. These are like 15 weeks courses. So we had developed 114 videos, 2 to 3 minute chunks for this course. We'll give you a sense of the breadth of the content that the students are engaging in. And then once a week, they'll engage in person or on Zoom with their teaching fellows to dive deeper into certain activities that are designed and prescribed by the university professor. And then once a week, the students work on an assignment for knowledge transfer and skills transfer. Because this is a course on AI, it was really important to us that we got the students hands-on access to AI technology. But we had a couple of barriers kind of to tackle as we thought about how we would do that. So recall, we're working with students in typically lower socioeconomic high schools around the country, so we couldn't make any assumptions about what, if any, access to LLM technology these students would have. Secondly, because these are high school students, we were working with minors, so data privacy and data security became increasingly important. Third, because the students would not officially be enrolled into the Notre Dame course until towards the end of the semester, to manage the number of adds and drops we would have to manually process, they would not have access to Gemini or NotebookLM that Casey just talked about. And then fourthly, the cost of us providing licenses to over 300 students was just not feasible. So given these constraints, we reached out to the AI enablement team to think about, well, how can we tackle this problem? How can we get them safe and secure access to LLM technology? And Brandon, please jump in here if I mispronounce or missay anything here. So we worked with the AI enablement team to stand up Arnie, which is a bespoke chat interface provided through Open Web UI, an open source application that gives it like a chat GPT-like web experience, which you can see here, hosted on a virtual machine in AWS. When we launched in fall 2025, it was initially deployed using ChatGPT 4.0 mini, a smaller variant of the then state-of-the-art model, which achieved high-quality responses, but at a good cost per user interaction. Again, we're trying to do this at scale, so cost can't be insane. Fortunately, we were awarded a $50,000 grant through the AWS Education Equity Initiative, which then enabled us to transition to Amazon's own Nova Pro model, a larger model that gives even more robust responses at a premium rate. And based on usage data, I think, Brandon, we predicted that the grant will enable us to serve a similar amount of usage as we saw in the fall 2025 pilot for approximately 10 years. A little bit about the pilot outcomes then. So in keeping with kind of the average or standard patterns that we see in Neon courses, at the start of the semesters in September 2025, we had 305 students enrolled. That then, due to complications in the high schools, students dropping, feeling the content was too hard, dropped to 179 students who completed with a 97.8% pass rate and 83.5% average GPA. We're able to serve scholars in 12 high schools across 5 states. And here you can just read some of the great student feedback that we got and co-teacher feedback, which I think really speaks to how their level and depth of understanding of AI really kind of increased from engaging in the course. Another really high impact part of this model was that we were able to visit King's College Prep High School, which we would call from the start of the presentation. And here on the left, this is Amaya, one of our teaching fellows. When she met with the students, they said they couldn't believe that she wasn't AI. They were so impressed with her. Okay, so what are our next steps with this project? Our goal, given the really positive outcomes from the course, the really positive feedback that we got from the co-teachers and the students, is to expand the number of students we serve in fall 2026, targeting 500 students. The course is already full, so we're really excited to serve more learners across more high schools, across more states. We want to update the courseware and the assignments to make sure that it's staying abreast of current developments of the technology. And I really want to think about ways to further support the co-teachers who are oftentimes learning alongside their students as they're going through this content. And finally, I want to thank our university partners, without whom this would not have been possible. In particular, I want to thank the Lucy Cummings for Data and Society and OIT's AI enablement team, particularly Brandon, who helped us bring RNA to life. And if you want to learn more about this, you can email online at nd.edu. Thank you.